Hey, welcome back, folks. This episode, I'm going to tell you what first time home buyers and sellers told me they wish that they had known before they got into the house that they got. So, the first thing is that with anything for first time sellers, the commission that you pay for your broker is completely and 100% negotiable. If the broker sits there and says, well, this is X percent is what we need, and you're not comfortable paying them X percent, say, I'm willing to pay you X minus six or X minus five or one or two or three or four or whatever it is, or if it's a hard number, you just say it. And if they give you a high pressure tactic thing, find another broker. It's that easy. It's fully negotiable. And if they're making it so it's not negotiable, then that is what the NAR got sued for, was that they were keeping prices artificially high. So you want to find a broker who's willing to negotiate their commission all the way down to 1% if they have to. Secondly, you want to find one that is going to price your home correctly from the start. And the reason is because if it's priced incorrectly, just like that, there's no interest. And the reason is because let me put it to you like this. This is a pen. This pen you could pick up anywhere on the planet for 99 cents. Would you pay for this pen if I told you that it was worth $450,000? No. So when you have a $200,000 house and you have it marketed at $450,000, instantaneously people are going to take a look at it and say, that's out of my budget. Moving on. And then they move away from it. And it will cause your home to sit on the market until the price falls, until it actually gets to the point where somebody will buy it. It's one of those things where you can price it out of the range. So if you ever watch The Price is Right and they've got this scale and somebody says that it's a car's worth $40,000 and it only goes up to 26,000, and then everything it goes the $40,000 thing is going into red. Well, same deal. But we want to ensure that people see it and it's priced correctly. Secondly, staging and curb appeal matters sometimes. Sometimes people want a vacant house and they want to be able to see what the potential is in their mind uh, of the house. Other people would like to see it staged so they have an idea of what they can do inside of a particular property. There there's extremes in between both. Some want a clean house so they can visualize it. Others want something that is staged so they can visualize it as it's staged. There's no right answer to this. It's all up to the seller. The seller will be paying for that, of course, and it's either going to be one of those things where the seller pays the real estate broker in order to call in the specialist to stage it, or the seller actually calls a staging group to come in and stage it. Either or. The first impressions are everything. And what I often will tell people, I would prefer you to put the money into landscaping and pressure washing and getting the outside curb appeal up to spec, because what do you normally do when you go to a restaurant? Somebody puts a hamburger with fries and whatnot in front of you. Is it visually appeasing, or is it something you push the plate away? We do more sales and we buy more stuff by our eyeballs than we do actually inspecting anything. It's a weird concept, but psychologically, we buy by our view. So when you go to a house, you're actually looking at the first 7 seconds, you're actually looking at the hamburger as it arrives on your plate. You're looking at the curb appeal. The third thing that a lot of sellers were upset about was selling costs adding up. Now, This may or may not change because of the NAR lawsuit that they have agreed to settle. But what it was that some of the closing costs were, 10, 20, 30, $40,000, where they were paying a buyer's commission as well, a buyer's agent commission as well. But this may be one of those things where the selling costs get a little bit more muted. And what I mean for is your agent commissions. Sellers are only going to be responsible for the selling agent commission unless they say that they're willing to do the buyer's agent commission, which is going to be now part of the buyer's offer to purchase and not be documented with us, because we believe that in order for the buyer's agent to be paid, they have to prove their worth to their buyers. And if we're going to do anything like that, I mean, the buyer's agent really isn't doing anything for us except bringing us an offer to purchase, right? And I'm here to work with you on marketing your home. So, buyer's agent brings person in. They say, "Hey, I love this house. Let's go ahead and sign the documents." Well, what's the value to the buyer? What's the value to the seller? So we want them to come to the table and say, "Hey, is it possible for you to pay some of the buyer's agent's commission?" And the staging, repairs, closing costs. I've seen people who have done a lot of work to their house and decide that they don't want to put any more work into the house. And then they call a real estate agent and they say, "Well, what can you put forward to making the house sellable?" And the real estate agent goes and puts, $10,000 in paint, $10,000 in repairs and stuff like that. And then when it gets to closing, the seller says, "Oh, you know what? We're going to keep the house." But they're still on the hook for all of those repairs. So it's important to understand that all of those costs are going to be coming out of the net proceeds of the house, whether the house sells or not. So the net proceeds will eat into those profits, which is okay, or it will be coming out of pocket if the house doesn't sell because of one reason or another. The important thing to realize is that when we're doing those kinds of repairs, the paint and everything else, we're doing it for the sale of your house. And it's important to realize that same thing with a car. If I go and put new tires on your car in order to make it sell, and you decide that you don't want to sell it anymore, and the bill comes to $1,300 for tires, you're going to get the bill for $1,300. It happens. So it's important to realize that uh, staging, repairs, and closing costs are all a fact of life. The only thing that you can really control right now is your agent commissions, because now they are 100% fully negotiable, and they could be as low as 0.5%, or they can be as high as the sky's the limit if you want to do that, but I would say whatever is reasonable in your mind, seller. The importance of timing. Most people are saying, "Well, this is the dead period." Well, this is a dead period for one reason. Summer's over. People are back to school. People now have that shock of, now we're getting geared up for the Christmas and New Year's holidays. That's fine and dandy. The time to put your house on the market is just before Thanksgiving, because what happens at Thanksgiving? Everybody's coming over for dinner. So it's important, if you put your house on the market for Thanksgiving, you want to do it in October. So there's a 30-day period where all the inspections and everything can be done. And then after that, they can close, and then they can have their family stuff on it. And you have your check before the end of the year. Timing can influence how quickly or how long your home sells, and for how much. Research when the homes in our area sell. I can tell you that most of the homes that I have sold have either been in September, October timeframe, and that's because they're getting geared up for Thanksgiving, Christmas. And not every offer is going to be a good offer. I can tell you that 100% of the time. We had a real estate broker who gave us an offer that had an appraisal contingency and about three other contingencies attached to it. And I turned around and I told her, I said, no. I didn't even give it to my buyer. I just said no. And the reason is because my seller was going back to a different state, and he didn't want to be on the hook for keeping it up and everything else, and he wanted it sold. So it's important to realize that they may have come to you with contingencies, like they'll say, well, the highest offer isn't always the best offer. Or they'll come up and say, well, we'll give you $20,000 more as long as you discount at $20,000 for repairs. Well, it's illegal. I've seen that. But consider the buyer's financing, their contingencies of selling another house or moving out of an apartment, or consider the flexibility on closing dates. Because sometimes slightly lower cash offer with fewer contingencies is the much safer bet, because you're going to have a house sold and you're not going to have all that shenanigans going on with, well, if I give them $20,000 more, then they can give me a $20,000 credit in order to fix up the house. Just give me a $20,000 less offer, because that's what's appropriate. Disclosure laws are very, very, very serious. We have to know upfront what's going on with the house that you're aware of, because if we're not aware of what's going on with your house, neither are the buyers. And when the buyers walk into a house that is a nightmare, they're walking into the money trap, and that's not fair to the buyers, and that's not fair to you, because they're going to turn around and sue you, and they're going to probably turn around and sue me. But the important thing is that I will give you disclosures, to which will come to you by email, or we will sit there and we'll do it by hand, and you can turn around and you can fill those out, and those will become part of the record that I give to the buyers in order for them to say, okay, well, we got all this, we can verify. But it's important to be upfront with any of those, because if you're upfront with them and you're telling them that this is what needs to be done, or if you fail to disclose a problem, if you tell them what's going on with it, they're going to be more understanding than if you lie about it or you just say, oh, there's not a problem whatsoever. Because failing to disclose problems can lead to a legal nightmare down the road. And understanding the state's disclosure requirements is essential. In our state, we have a 4-page document of air conditioning, roofing, septic, DOT, liens, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. We have oil and gas disclosures, and we also have lead. And in some cases, we also have a agricultural area disclosure, which is you have a house that's close to a farm. Yeah, those kind of disclosures. And understand that negotiating is part of the process. Some people just steamroll through saying, well, this is the price that they're going to give. This is the price that we should accept, this, that, and the other. But, when you're given an offer, and then you can counteroffer on those at any particular time. It makes me sick to my stomach whenever I see an offer to purchase come through, and the broker says, well, this is the only offer that they're given. This is the highest and best, because they're more interested in a commission check and to get it off their books so they can turn around and sell the next property, versus actually doing what they need to do for the seller. My take is when an offer to purchase comes in, I sit down with the seller and I go through everything with it. And then I say, okay, so do you have any questions about this? Do you have any concerns about this? What would be, is this acceptable? And then I'll go through some what if scenarios with them, such as, if you accept this, how fast can you be out of the property? If you need to rent this back for a month or two, what could you expect? What do you think about the contingencies? What do you think about the fix-its? What do you think about all of that? I gain all of that information in, and I write it down, And I will let the buyer's agent know that the seller will accept this as long as these conditions are met. And then if the buyer says that's acceptable, then we have an agreement. But we don't actually have an agreement until the seller says, this is my concerns. This is what I need to be clear. This is, they're all part of the process. And that includes counter offers, that includes repairs, that includes inspections, that includes financials, that includes all of that. I have to sell a house before I buy this one? You have to know as a seller what you're willing to compromise and where you're going to stand firm, because some of these buyers will steamroll you, try to steamroll you, and you are in the middle of a situation where you're in a seller's market and the buyer is trying to bulldog you. Well, no, that doesn't happen. There's an emotional aspect to selling your house too. It's been your pride and joy for 30 years. And the thing about it is that I understand that trying to break up the home and your literally your spiritual life inside of that home is going to be difficult at best. It's an emotional process. But you have to try to approach it as a business transaction and avoid taking negotiations personally. I've seen it where some of them are knockdown, drag out, and there's no need for that because it's just a business. It's just a business transaction. And that's the thing. It doesn't matter if it's probate. It doesn't matter if it's your Uncle Sid's property that you have to sell. It doesn't matter if it's grandma's. And being an auctioneer, I tell people it doesn't matter if it's grandma's yellow pie plate, the tractor sitting out in the garage, or if it is the house, or if it is the, if it's the swimming pool, or if it's any of that other stuff. You have to take the emotion out. You're trying to sell your property because you're moving on with the next stage of your life. So emotionally, it may be difficult to detach, and that's fine. But that's why I'm here to help you. And you have to get your paperwork in order early, such as your deed, your title, your tax records, warranties of major appliances, any work that has been done. And what we mean by any work that has done is you may have foundation repairs, and those foundation repairs may have a lifetime warranty on them. So you want to make sure that you have all of those papers in there and make sure that the buyer understands that when they transfer over, especially with the lifetime warranty on any kind of foundation repairs, that they can call up the people and say, "Hi, my name is Joe Blow, and I just bought the house on 1414 South 2nd Street, and here's the paperwork and documentation that proves that. And can you transfer the warranty to me?" And they say, "Sure, no problem." And sometimes without that paperwork, the buyers have a hard time trying to get those warranties transferred. And you also have to realize that you can have a seller's price that may be less than what you want, and it might be more than what you want. But if you have all of that documentation showing all the tax records where it is appreciated, all of that information and all of that warranty stuff, it helps with selling prices, and it helps with the selling process, especially with attorneys, and it also helps reduce a lot of delay that most people don't think about. And the last thing that I have is work with a knowledgeable local agent. And I say that because I have seen agents who say that they're probate agents that completely screwed up probate. I've seen some that have made it so as slick as a whistle going in and out. I have seen traditional real estate brokers who play games with the buyers or sellers. And I've seen commercial real estate agents that completely flub the deal because of liens or UCC issues, as well as industrial stuff. So you want to work with a knowledgeable agent in the area that knows which kind of situation that you're going to have. Is it probate, divorce? Is it a moving sale, or is it something where you're moving out? You need somebody to do property management because you're renting it. You need to have all of that. You need to think about all of that because real estate is always going to be your number one and highest valuable asset. So you want to have a real estate broker like me, not necessarily a realtor, that will guide you through pricing, marketing, negotiation, and what the local market's going to be saying, what people here locally want, those kinds of things. And both first-time home buyers and sellers understand. I'm here for you. I've got checklists for you to go down, and I've got other things for you to do. In fact, I've got to send out a notice to my first-time home buyer saying, okay, it's been a year. Do you have your list of things that the builder has to fix before they're done with the neighborhood? And if you do, now's the time to get them to them so they can go ahead and do it, make copies, and do it by certified mail so they can't say that we lost it in mail. So we want to understand all of this because if it's something that's going to be major that's going to stop it or something that's going to be minor that's going to stop it. I've had probate sales where they wanted a teddy bear that goes with the house. And when they said, no, you can't have the teddy bear, that they canceled the sale. So it's one of those things where all of this helps you either get into or get out of your house as efficiently as humanly possible. I am Matt Price. I am your real estate broker and your auctioneer. I will see you in the next one. Don't forget to call me 919-614-6288 if you have any problems that you need solutions to. Have a great week.